Hello guys, welcome back once again. It's your boy as you always know, and I am here again with another review of our brother. As you always know, these are the kind of people we should look up to. These are the kind of things we should be doing for our country, in our communities, and in Africa as well. You know, than sitting on social media caricaturing each other or insulting one another or just fighting on matters that are not relevant to anyone. So these are kind of the youth I always look up to. These are the kind of people I always see future in them. I always see Africanism in them. So this is no other person but Ousman Touray. I am not going to talk much about this video. I'm just going to sit with you guys and listen to this video of Ousman Touray. He have been talking about this happened yesterday, where he's been talking about the democracy development in the country. These are some things that we should be talking about than being there fighting one another of unnecessary things that have no use to us. So please, I will just take you direct to the video and watch the video.
Democracy, peace, development. In so many instances, we are made to believe that democracy is not Gambian and democracy is not African. Yes, in words, because the name doesn't originate from Africa. If I travel further down, just after Brikama, I will observe in every community a village bantaba. What was the purpose of such? In my own community where I grew up, I observed my parents, community leaders, meeting in the village bantaba called Pinch, and I had no idea where they must have been inspired to understand that they need to involve themselves in dialogues, in community engagement, in taking decisions collectively towards the betterment of their livelihood. Moving further, when we talk about democracy, there are principles, there are things that it promises us. In other states, like the state minister mentioned and some of the other speakers, with a democratic system, we are promised that it comes with protection of the minority, protection of life, rule by consent, majority taking the lead in decision making, the rule of law, the separation of powers, giving powers to the people. But above all, democracy is built on the principle of choice and competition. The people must have a choice, and they should not be living in fear to exhibit those choices. And they must have a free and fair grounds to compete, competing in politics, in the economy, and in their social livelihood. But there is a but, and that is where the government comes in to serve as a referee to protect the minority's interest, to make sure that individuals are not exploited, to make sure that there is limitation in the classes that could be established by just allowing the free force of demand and supply to control the daily livelihood. Now, when we look at peace and development, in the Gambia, we are known for our existing peacefulness. It is not a new thing. Gambians everywhere are observed and looked at as very, very peaceful individuals. But the early warning signs of a threat to the existing peace are a daily reality. We see them in our community, we see them in our political parties, we see them in our daily engagements as a nation. And that should send all of us a signal as to where are we heading. Is this the actual promise of the democracy that the Gambia has championed from independence to date? Because this country, we should not just look at it as its size. This is one of the countries that champions the democratization process of Africa. When nations in Africa were going for one-party system, dictatorial regime, more rigid ways of governing, the Gambia had already opened its space for competition and choices. It has been hijacked to some extent, and today we believe we've recovered it. We are in a day to celebrate independence. If this was a newly born baby then that baby is now 58 years. Someone just told me yesterday, I don't know if it was a baby or what, but I think it's getting old. So we must then pay attention to the fact that we are no longer young as a country. We have to establish something concrete for these generations and generations of Gambians to come. On the side of development, yes. Is democracy a recipe for development? Yes. Is democracy the only recipe for development? No. Some societies have tried something totally different and yet succeed. But here is the winning point. Democracy has been tested and it works in delivering development. But those developments have equally been contextualized by countries to what fits them. So what fits us? What democracy fits the Gambia and the Gambian people? This should be the basic of our engagements today. In the whole world, the Greece has been recommended as the actual founders of what we today call democracy. One of the recent Greek scholars and most phenomenal of our time, Yanis Varoufakis, in his book Talking to My Daughter About the Economy, talks about the threat that his own nation, that is worldly recognized as the origin and the root of democracy, is at a threat because capitalism is eating the existing democracy they have. And we have seen the crisis in 2008, the current conflicts, the injustice globally, the balance of international powers, where states like the Gambia and many other developing countries, or countries to be specific in the African continent, have been denied space, opportunities, the unequal distribution of global resources in the name of democracy, because we have been told that with the progress of democracy, we have to be globalized states. That leads us to being developed. And therefore, there are existing patterns that we must all take. But no. Development, and this is where the difference is. In biology, development is existing principles. Yes. If this meets this, with a period of time, the result is this. It's concrete, already scientifically proven and approved. Socially, development doesn't work like that. There is no existing single pattern where one can read, master, and deliver and get 100% development. No. Countries go through challenges. Countries observe these challenges. They build upon it. And at the end, they register a development that is genuinely theirs. As a country, today, that is where our priorities should lie. Yes, indeed, we have good policies. We have good strategic documents. We have a country where there is no shortage of literatures. But what do we do beyond this literature? The books, the papers, the policies don't fit anyone. For a sustainable, for a just country, for us to attain that economic prosperity, there's the need to put all these ideas, the documents, everything into concrete actions that address the daily challenges of the Gambian behind bars and live in a society where we do not allow individuals whose objective is to maximize profit, exploit our own people in our watch. That leads to unequal society, which again would lead to a lot of difficulties. So yes, democracy as a recipe for development and peace. But if misunderstood, the reverse happen. Thank you.
As you see, these are the kind of minds we should be having in our continent, which is Africa, because we are not just there to talk about one particular country. We are there to defend all African countries, to make sure that we come together as one people to see how development, how we know things will happen in our continent better for us. So this is the message he have to give us, and this is something we all need to be doing for our continent, Africa.